Keeping up with NFL training camp can be tough, but today we're going to go rapid fire through all 32 NFL teams, talking about a player from each team that has some noteworthy news that affects fantasy football. So today, Dave Kluge and I are going to go through all 32 NFL teams, starting with the Arizona Cardinals, where Dave, Trey Benson, splitting reps with the first team offense. Now, granted, it's preseason, it's week one. Let's not all get carried away with every single bit of news and notes that we have here. He did play again on the second drive, played the second drive with the first team and then finished with the second team. So it just kind of seems like a little bit of get him out there with everybody type of thing.
Yeah, and he also didn't look great in this game, which is concerning because what we saw last preseason and early in the year, he did the thing that a lot of young, talented, athletic running backs do, which is try to bounce every single run outside, constantly searching for the home run. And it seemed like midway through the season, like he kind of got a little bit better at getting downfield quickly. And then what we saw in this preseason game was him kind of reverting to that unfortunate tendency again. So I don't know what to make of this backfield because we have you can kind of see what you want to see depending on who you're listening to. Like the offensive coordinator and the head coach are very steadfast in the belief that James Conner is their guy and they're going to ride him the same way that they have in previous years. But then you get James Conner making this quote saying like, no, we're both RB1s. Like Trey Benson's going to be out there getting a lot of touches. So I don't really know what to make of this one. Hopefully, as we get more preseason games, we can get more data that we can try to kind of uncover what's happening here. But right now, I'm leaning towards James Conner and thinking that Trey Benson doesn't have much outside of the contingent injury away upside.
Yeah, Trey Benson, I'm looking right now. I'm slowly starting to drop him down the rankings. Now, I don't want to go too crazy because there's still tons of contingent upside here, but I've got him at running back 43 right now, right next to Braylon Allen. As the other guy that's in that area.
Kind of a few spots ahead of there, but yeah, very much so the same tier. It's just, if James Conner misses, we're looking at a potential league winner here. But I think that, the hope was that he can carve out a role on his own. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, he might get like a drive here or a touch here and there, but I don't think there's going to be enough to even warrant flex consideration as long as James Conner's healthy.
All right, here we go. Faster. This is rapid fire. Atlanta Falcons. Raheem Morris spoke about wide receiver Darnell Mooney. He said, kind of just waiting and rolling, kind of a week-to-week basis. I feel good about getting him back healthy and ready to go. When? I don't know. We'll have him back healthy this year, though. At no point in that entire sentence did it feel like he did actually feel good about getting Darnell Mooney. Like, you can't say, I feel good about getting him back, but also, I don't know when we're going to get him back. That just, I don't know, man. Like, that doesn't seem like there's a lot of confidence there. And just the wording of, we'll get him back healthy this year, though, seems like such a weird contingency to put in this of like, you might get him back week 10. We don't know.
Yeah, this is a little bit concerning. Because when we first got word of the injury, it sounded like he would be back by week 1, maybe missing a week or so. Now he could miss even more time. And we're seeing Casey Washington has been getting a lot of reps with the ones. Kadarius Hodge is getting some of those reps as well. So, Darnell Mooney is obviously better than the two of them, but this offense is going to flow through Drake London and Bijan Robinson. So Darnell Mooney, you're already kind of looking at him as like a volume-based play. And if he's missing any time, you're not getting that. So this definitely pushes him from like a potential flex play, a guy that I draft as my wide receiver 3 or my flex option, or if he's missing any time, I don't want to have Darnell Mooney sitting on my bench for a few weeks until he comes back. I'd much rather have a running back that can stumble into a bigger workload and have much more value. So this, when Darnell Mooney's out there, I think that he'll be fine. He'll be the player that he has been since joining the Falcons, which is somebody who's going to make big plays and you can rely on him weekly here and there. But I think I'll just let somebody else draft him and save that bench spot for a more valuable position.
That's where I'm at. It kind of feels like an NFL GM going into the NFL draft. You're just like, that guy's off my board. They might be talented, but they're just off my board. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Shout out to Scott Pianowski from Yahoo Fantasy Sports, who has said, look, injuries will find you in the fantasy season. Don't go and find them in your drafts. And like, that's what I don't want to do. I don't want, whatever the upside might be, I don't want to go and draft a player that's already injured.
Right.
All right. Next on here, Baltimore Ravens. A lot of hype, a lot of excitement for running back Keaton Mitchell. He's continuing to shine throughout camp and in preseason action. Could push for some touches here behind Derrick Henry and maybe spell Justice Hill a little bit. Dave, I know like when Keaton Mitchell was out there as a rookie, it was really exciting. People in Dynasty were going around sending second round rookie draft picks for him. And this was a player that everyone wanted as the heir apparent to J.K. Dobbins at the time. And he'd be the next big playmaker. Now with Derrick Henry out there, obviously it's going to be Derrick Henry's show. I do think there's an opportunity for Keaton Mitchell to get a small role, but I kind of want to pump the brakes a little bit on how much of a role there could be for him in fantasy, because even if without Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell's not a 3-down guy. He's going to be splitting reps with Justice Hill and anyone else in that backfield.
Yeah, but I can also see an out where it's kind of similar to like a Devon Achane rookie season where he wasn't getting a ton of work, but he was so explosive and the offensive line that year was so good that he was still very much so fantasy relevant. And I think when you've got this thunder to lightning approach where Derrick Henry is just wearing defenses down, and then you can have Keaton Mitchell come in for the big explosive plays. And we saw that last year. Like the Ravens were a low volume offense, but the explosive plays made Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely and Rashad Bateman and Derrick Henry all fantasy relevant. I could see Keaton Mitchell doing that as well. I mean, Derrick Henry has done nothing but defy father time so far, but you got to realize, he's going into his age 31 season. And I think that if they can say, hey, let's try to like put Derrick Henry on ice a little bit during the regular season so he could be 100% late in the year, I think we could see Keaton Mitchell spelling him for, 10, 12 touches per week. And with his explosive abilities and with that Ravens offensive line, I think that could warrant flex consideration. So Keaton Mitchell's a guy that I'm happy to draft in the late rounds because the contingent upside is great, but I think there could be some standalone value here as well.
Keaton Mitchell, where do you have him ranked?
Let me check here. I've got my running back or my wide receiver rankings open right now, which is silly.
I've got him inside my top 70 running backs, but that's like
I've got him.
That's
at
a guy that you're drafting.
RB 53 for me, so much higher. And a lot of that has come from moving other guys down. Bashaw Tutin moving down, Rashad Smith moving down, Marshawn Lloyd moving down. So that's kind of why Keaton Mitchell has been. It's been so easy to move him up.
And there's going to be guys too that I have to move down as well. Like there's players that, especially if you're listening to this, watching this, you're going to see players in ranking spots where you're like, why? They're placeholders. Like Quinshon Judkins right now is my running back 51. If he's not playing, he's out of there. Like, right. So like right now, a lot of these guys are placeholders that we're moving them around as we get closer and closer to the NFL season. All right. Next up on here, Buffalo Bills running backs James Cook has returned to practice today, according to head coach Sean McDermott, who said, quote, "Things have changed." Would those things have anything to do with Kyren Williams signing his contract, Dave?
I'm sure that has something to do with it. And that's going to change the asking price a little bit. He was asking for Saquon Barkley money, wanting $15 million plus a year. I think with Kyren Williams getting $11 million, that does change his asking price a little bit. We'll see how this all shakes out. I mean, I think that James Cook should just play this year. Like, he's already put a lot of good things on tape. The production's been there. I think that playing in this offense is going to give him a lot of opportunities for big plays, a lot of opportunities for touchdowns, and then he can hit free agency next year as a still relatively young running back who can get a big payday. I don't think he has much leverage in this situation, so I think him returning to practice is a good sign. I've been pretty bullish on James Cook just because, like I said, I don't think that he has a lot of leverage in this situation. So head of is my RB 13 in rankings. Can't really move him up any higher than that, but he's going to stay there for me.
Let's see. James Cook for me is my RB 14. So there you go. It's hard to look. I know he's not going to have the same kind of touchdown production that he did last year, but it's hard to look at this Bills offense, take a look at the wide receiver room, take a look at what's going on at the tight end position and say, okay, this offense can flow through any one of those guys. Actually, a lot of it's going to flow through is going to be James Cook. And so, I mean, having him back out, there's going to be huge for them. So yeah, James Cook, I think is one of those guys who's right there on that borderline of RB1, RB2. So yeah, good to have him back. Next up on here, Carolina Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard appears to be the lead running back in the backfield. That's not anything new. We already knew that. There's talk about a competition between both Rico Dowdle and Trevor Etienne. And then I've also seen reports here where Rico Dowdle is the clear cut passing down back with big upside. I think that's where I'd have him as well as the clear RB2 in this quote competition. But Dave, I'm kind of worried that we might even see more Rico Dowdle on the field than expected, and that the Chuba Hubbard hype train might be slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, I am very much so there. Have moved Chuba Hubbard down my rankings quite a bit. And I was already pretty low on him just because he feels like that potential dead zone trap. And we got to remember, like last year to start the season, in the first 4 weeks, Miles Sanders had 25 attempts and 11 targets. Like Dave Canales very much so wanted to have a two-headed approach, but Miles Sanders kind of stunk. And they couldn't really afford to keep him on the field. And then he picked up a midseason injury. But then when Jonathan Brooks came back, we saw Jonathan Brooks' role growing every single week until he got injured as well. So I don't think that Dave Canales, and I'm kind of backtracking on some things that I've said previously, because I thought that, looking at Dave Canales historically, he did lean on one running back, but a lot of times that was out of necessity. I do think that he wants to have more backs in here. I think Chuba Hubbard is still going to be the lead guy, of course, but sounds like Rico Dowdle is going to be a little bit more involved. Had a really nice catch in that preseason game. We're hearing them just glowing about his pass catching abilities, and so much of Chuba's production last year came from volume. So if we're looking at him losing out on the passing down role, that really limits his upside here. So Chuba Hubbard, I've knocked him down quite a bit in my rankings, and Rico Dowdle went from a guy that I had no interest in, somebody that I'll sprinkle in with one of my last rounds.
This is also just going to be a team that's going to have a different identity. If Bryce Young is looking as good as continues to look as good as he has, and they have the offensive passing game running through Tedero and McMillan, T-Mac, this is not going to be a team that has to rely on the run quite as much as they have in the past. So next up on here, Chicago Bears. They're used to relying on one guy. Now they've got a lot of weapons over there. So despite all this hype that's going on for Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, every single offensive skill player that's there, it does appear, according to camp reports, that DJ Moore is still functioning as the very versatile wide receiver one that's being put all over the field. And I mean, this is kind of what we had all said prior to the NFL draft. Then the NFL draft happens. You bring in these two guys and you get worried about DJ Moore. And now this just seems like one of those instances where it's like, well, talent prevails and just let the talented guy get the ball.
Right. And I'm the one who writes the Bears training camp reports. So this was one of the bullet points that I wrote. But there was a little bit more than that, too, is like, Ben Johnson has been talking about playing physical. We've heard about how tough he's been on the players and this accountability first approach and all these sorts of things. But one of the things that he talked about is that when you see all of the physical teams that run the ball well in the NFL do so with receivers who get involved as blockers. And how many times would you see Amon-Ra St. Brown like pull from the slot and then hit the A gap as the lead blocker? And DJ Moore has been doing that. There's been a lot of buzz about how physical these practices have been. And apparently DJ Moore has been that trendsetter, or that tone setter, just like cracking defensive backs in the run game and really getting involved. And that has opened up opportunities where he's playing inside, he's playing outside, he's playing out of the backfield. So I'm not perfect when it comes to analysis. I, of course, have my biases. And after the draft, I saw Luther Burden, got super excited about him, Rome Odunze, the draft capital, the pedigree, all those things. I was excited for him. But I had to kind of take a step back this week and just be like, yeah, DJ Moore is the best wide receiver on this team. And we're not getting a lot of buzz about DJ Moore because he's a $100 million receiver. Like, he's been the wide receiver one there for years. And beat reporters know what they're doing. They know that the rookie buzz sells. So they're going to talk about Colston Loveland and Luther Burden and the Rome Odunze breakout. But just kind of quietly, there has been this DJ Moore is taking to the new system, looking really good. And I moved him up way higher in my rankings because I was holding on to hope for the young guys and kind of foolishly forgetting about DJ Moore.
Well, I mean, look around. Look at all the best players in fantasy. Those are the guys that are the least talked about players throughout camp. Like, no one's going, man, Bijan Robinson is having a great training camp. Like, we know.
Right.
Ja'Marr Chase out here catching touchdowns. We know. Yeah. So, yeah, if DJ Moore's having himself a good camp, it's not that shocking to people.
Right.
Next up on here, Cincinnati Bengals running back Chase Brown had 100% of the backfield touches with the starters. He had 48 yards, 3 receptions in less than a quarter. So, I mean, just from that small sample size, everything looks good. It looks like there's going to be a ton of volume for him out there. Samaje Perine was the guy that's being trusted as the pass protector. He played the third down snaps, the starting offense, but he didn't see any touches. So, I mean, with Taj Brooks, with Samaje Perine, even with these other guys on the roster, it still very much feels like the Chase Brown show there in Cincinnati. Is this a guy that we are trusting as a round 2 pick in fantasy football?
Yeah, I am, but I'm definitely a little bit concerned. I mean, 65 targets last year, and Chase Brown caught 54 of those and scored 4 touchdowns through the air. So if he loses out on all of the third down opportunities to Samaje Perine, I mean, when I was looking at this earlier, doing my rankings and doing my projections, I had just kind of written Samaje Perine off. He looked terrible in Denver. He looked terrible in Kansas City. Yeah, he did not write back, and he's carving out a role here. So it seems like we do have a clear picture of what this backfield is going to look like now, where Chase Brown is going to get the early down work. He's going to get the goal line work. Samaje Perine is going to come in on third down. And then Taj Brooks is the guy that probably won't have any standalone value, but could come in and play that Chase Brown role if he has to miss any time. So Samaje Perine, a guy that getting up there in age, wasn't really factoring him in too much, but that would be a pretty big development if he ends up taking a stranglehold on third down duties.
Yeah, I still remain a little leery with it where I don't even know that if I'm an NFL team, I don't want to go into the season saying, "Oh, thank God we've got Samaje Perine like being our passing down back." I think a lot of it is let's get him reps doing the pass blocking and let's see what it's like with situational football where we know that we're not going to be using the running back as a target on these plays, and let's see what happens when we know, okay, we're going out to the wide receivers to the multi tight end sets. We're going vertical down the field. Let's just get another guy in there for some max pro for Joe Burrow and have Samaje Perine out there. So I do wonder if the Bengals are just gonna be a little bit more intentional about like when you see some, because I mean Zach Taylor has not been super creative as an offensive play caller, so there could be a world where we're just saying, okay, Samaje Perine's out there, he's blocking. Chase Brown's out there, they could be running or passing, and right. there's a little bit of that. So
and I will say, like, I'm still holding it down with Chase Brown. I've got it as my RB8. Yeah. I'm not like panicking by any means, but I do want to see Chase Brown involved in the passing game. He was very good in that role last year, and I'd hate to see him lose that to an old dusty Samaje Perine.
Who do you have him ahead of? Chase Brown?
Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Kyron Williams. I'm very, very bullish on Chase Brown this year.
Oh, you're preying on the Derrick Henry downfall here.
Yep. If I just do it every single year, one of these years I'll be right.
Eventually. All right, Cleveland Browns. Wide receiver Jerry Jeudy has made a number of plays in joint practices and is set to reprise his role as the offense's go-to pass catcher. Dave, I have no idea what that means. Cool. Wide receiver 1 on the Browns could be nice. Probably means, in my opinion, low-end wide receiver 3 for fantasy football. I don't even think we know who the Browns quarterback is going to be. All signs point towards Joe Flacco being that guy. We'll see how long that lasts.
I think all four. I think we're going to see all 4 quarterbacks start at some point this year.
I do. Honestly, is that not frustrating that I think that if Joe Flacco, let's say, God forbid, gets injured, right? Gets hurt, I would assume that the next quarterback walking into that game is Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
And they let Kenny Pickett go.
Probably Dylan Gabriel and then probably Shedeur Sanders.
Which is just nuts. Which is just absolutely nuts. Like, let the guy play.
I will say, like, Jerry Jeudy, we've heard about him making plays and whatnot, but there's also been like a strong drumbeat for Cedric Tillman, a guy who looked like a bona fide wide receiver 1 for like a month last year and then got hurt, unfortunately. But then we're also seeing Harold Fannin, in the preseason game. He played every single passing down. He was lined up as a slot receiver. They're not even using him as a tight end. He took 2 plays where he lined up in line. One of them was on a run where he pulled and he was a lead blocker. Another one, he was just a little chip and release on a play action. But I mean, they are using him as a slot receiver, and he's running deep routes downfield. So if I'm looking at an offense that I don't expect to be good, and David Njoku is there, Cedric Tillman is there, Jerry Jeudy is there, and now we have to worry about Harold Fannin as well, this is going to be a small plot pie that's going to be split up into a bunch of different pieces. Every once in a while, I think it's okay to just say, I don't want any part of this offense. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with the Cleveland Browns. Like, we could dig for gold, but at the end of the day, it's the Browns, and there's going to be a lot more crap in that than there's going to be gold.
Hey, I get it. Browns, crap. Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of crap, sorry, Cowboys fans, that was uncalled for. Javonte Williams appears to be the de facto starter at running back, while Miles Sanders and Jaden Blue are dealing with injuries. Both those guys are reported to be returning soon. It's not serious, but Javonte is the starter. Dave, does this matter to you at all?
He's the starter while Miles Sanders and Jaden Blue are dealing with injuries. I think that's a very important caveat. Like, what we heard when Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams or Jaden Blue were healthy was that Javonte Williams was the RB3 and that he was not looking good, that he didn't have any explosiveness or burst or anything like that. And like, now he's operating as the RB1. Cool. Yeah, he's multiple position or injuries away from being the RB1. But this is one where they said Miles Sanders was clearly outplaying him. Jaden Blue was flashing. I think this is another one of those situations, and I'm sorry to do this. Like, we want to give good, actionable advice, but this is another one where, like, if you have a 3-headed backfield and none of them are really great talents, I'm kind of okay letting my league mates deal with this headache while I just target other backfields at that point in the draft.
I am still targeting Jaden Blue. He's the guy with the most upside. I think that the Javonte Williams news might drive his ADP up while putting Blue and Sanders' ADP down a little bit. That's still the most explosive guy with the pass catching skill set, the passing down skill set. So
I've got all these guys 47 to 55 in my rankings. Like, that's how close they all are. And I don't want any of them. Like Jaden Blue, I've got him in the same tier as Blake Corum, Keaton Mitchell, Taj Brooks. You know, in my opinion, they're all guys that need an injury to really be relevant. I don't think Jaden Blue has the 3-down skill set. And like maybe if Javonte Williams gets hurt, they're forced to ride him in that sort of role. But I think that he's a guy that's going to be more of a change of pace, you know, getting a handful of touches here and there, could occasionally score the big play. But I think for any of these guys, Williams, Sanders, or Blue to be relevant, they'd need at least one injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a good backfield. It really isn't. All right, next up on here, Denver Broncos. Speaking of another annoying backfield, head coach Sean Payton wants to have a feature back. Of course he does, because that's what Sean Payton always says.
Right.
Wrong. Pump the brakes, man. So rookie running back, RJ Harvey was 5th on the depth chart, but then he went out and played pretty much all the first team snaps. Like he was the guy, and
for what it's worth,
it was
Sean
a mixed
Payton
bag.
put every rookie as last on the depth chart because he's just
Just
old school. They gotta earn it. You know, nobody's coming in here and getting a job. Shut up. Just come on.
Then I'm gonna let you be the first team running back in the game.
Performative depth chart. It's so silly, but
yeah. But the thing is with RJ Harvey is like, it was a mixed bag. Like there's, film grinders out there watching like, man, he's trying to bounce everything outside. And then there's, he's struggling in pass pro. And those, a lot of those are the same comments that are coming out of training camp as well. Like he's been struggling in pass pro. We're going to see a good amount of J.K. Dobbins, and wouldn't be surprised if we don't see much J.K. Dobbins in the preseason. This is an offense that wants to keep him healthy, keep him fresh, let this backfield split. And guys, like we've just been down this road so many times with Sean Payton where we want to wish cast a running back to be the guy, and it's always two. It's like a Sith. Like there's always two. Dave, you don't understand that because you don't watch Star Wars. But there's always two running backs in a Sean Payton.
I like Star Wars
here.
It's like one of my few nerdy indulgences. Star Wars and Lord of the Rings I can get down with.
Okay. Name 3 Star Wars characters. Go.
Han Solo, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker. Boom. I can keep going. Well, I can keep going.
Rapid fire, go. Don't do it. Yeah, at least with RJ Harvey here, man, like I'm kind of bearish on RJ Harvey. I think a lot of people are putting him up into that RB2 territory. I still got him as RB27 right now. I think it's another one of those guys. Like if an injury happens to J.K. Dobbins, okay, we're looking at an RJ Harvey bump, but I also don't think that he's just going to be the only running back out there. Sean Payton does this. He'll put someone else up there, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, the guys who were playing plenty last year. Dave, where are you at with Harvey?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to you. And I've been talking about this a lot this offseason. Like that J.K. Dobbins signing was not good for R.J. Harvey. And I remember our Cecil Lammey getting so much smoke for saying that J.K. Dobbins was going to be the RB1 and or that J.K. Dobbins was going to be the RB1 and R.J. Harvey was going to be the RB2. But that's kind of the way that it's shaken out right now. And I talked about it. I am a noted RJ Harvey stan, big fan of what he did coming into the league. But the two things that I talked about consistently were his, just always wanted to bounce runs outside. And he was graded as one of the worst pass blockers in this incoming class. We got to remember, just 5 years ago, this guy was playing quarterback. Like he's still learning how to play the running back position. Meanwhile, J.K. Dobbins is one of the best blocking running backs in the class. So I didn't adjust my rankings at all based on this game because I was already lower on RJ Harvey and higher on J.K. Dobbins. So I've got Harvey as my RB24, J.K. Dobbins as my RB31. I've done about 150 best ball drafts at this point. J.K. Dobbins is my most drafted running back because I think that he is the guy that is going to be the passing down back, which we know is very valuable. Sean Payton has had 28 running backs over his career, have seasons with 50 plus targets. I think that's going to be J.K. Dobbins, and we're going to see RJ Harvey coming in as more of that early down grinder, which is great because he's got breakaway speed where he can hit those home run plays. But we know that a passing role in this offense, or I'm sorry, a receiving role in this offense is so much more valuable. And I think that's going to Dobbins.
Yeah, I've got Dobbins as my running back 33, RJ Harvey as running back 27. So not much splitting them up for me. Detroit Lions next on here. Running back Jahmyr Gibbs continues to line up more at receiver, and coaches seem to feel that could be the key to unlocking even more production. Dave, this goes back to
this guy was putting up 30 points per game last year. Like, what do you need to unlock? Man? He's like the best running back in football.
Like this is what we were talking about earlier. It's like with the good players, there's not really much to report on. Good players, still good. Water, still wet. Like, we got it. Cool. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to catch passes. We already knew that. I think it's more so of just like reassuring us that this role will remain for him, even with Ben Johnson gone. I don't think there's much to even talk about here, if we're being honest.
Cool. Yeah. Let me move Jahmyr Gibbs from RB2 up to RB2. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this news. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. He's good. Draft him. He's going like top 5 in drafts for a reason.
RB2. You're a spicy little potato, Dave. RB2. Let me go check. I got to check my rankings now. Where do I have him? Oh, RB3.
Football Guys projections have him overall RB1.
Yeah, I'm not there. Green Bay Packers. Leading slot wide receiver Jayden Reed is a question mark for week 1 with a foot / ankle injury. Right now, it seems like the big beneficiaries have been wide receiver Matthew Golden and tight end Tucker Kraft, at least when it comes to ADP, when it comes to rankings, and I think a lot of projections as well. Like Romeo Doubs is another guy, but I think we kind of know what we have with them. Whereas Kraft and Golden really feel like, I don't want to say the mystery boxes, but like the guys where the ceiling has now just gotten a lot higher for each of them with a Jayden Reed injury. Is that kind of how you feel?
You know, I haven't changed my rankings too much, and if we get word that Jayden Reed is going to miss some time, I'll have to bump him down a little bit, but it seemed like, 3 days into camp, like that it was already entrenched that it was going to be Romeo Doubs and Matthew Golden in 2 wide receiver sets, and Jayden Reed was going to have the same frustrating role that he's had for years, where he can only play slot receiver. So an injury would obviously knock that down a little bit, but I've been extremely aggressive in targeting Matthew Golden and Tucker Kraft, who you mentioned as well. Those are 2 guys that I am very, very in on when it comes to drafting these guys. There was also the report this morning, Jordan Love had surgery on his thumb. Saw people panicking about that. It's his left thumb. He's going to be okay. It's not his throwing hand.
He doesn't even need that.
Yeah, who needs a left thumb? Well, I'm a lefty. I need a left thumb, but if I was a
righty,
right-handed
quarterback,
right? So I think he's going to be fine. People are concerned about this a little bit. They said they're expecting him to be back week 1, but Jayden Reed, he's one of those guys like. It's kind of crazy, but I've got Jayden Reed and Romeo Doubs pretty close in my rankings. Jayden Reed, obviously better with the explosive plays. He can do more with the ball after the catch. But Romeo Doubs is this guy that like just gets written off year after year. And he is such a trusted guy when it comes to moving the chains and getting targeted in the red zone that Doubs, I'm pretty bullish on him. And he's a guy that I'm willing to take in drafts.
I kind of want to draft him just so I can name my team Dubstep.
I like it.
Seems fun. Yeah.
I like it.
Also, just kind of figuring out here, left thumb is the appendix of right-handed quarterbacks. You just simply don't need it.
Yeah.
You simply don't. I was going to say kidneys just for fun and be like, no, you kind of.
You want those. At least one of them.
All right. Houston Texans. Running back Nick Chubb is in concussion protocol. Dameon Pierce activated from the PUP list. And yeah, there's still the whole Joe Mixon thing going on here. Dave, is this another one of these backfields that you just don't want any part of? Or are you more willing, because I've been thinking about this more, are you more willing to be like, okay, it's the final 2-3 rounds of my draft. No one's picked up Dameon Pierce. No one's picked up Woody Marks. Am I taking a flyer on one of those guys? Because somebody's got to get the touches. I think the real question here is how good or bad is the Houston Texans offense?
Yeah, I think it, I mean, I've said this a lot. I don't think that this is the backfield we're going to be looking at come week 1. I don't know if it's going to be Devin Singletary or Jamal Williams or Dante Foreman. Like, I have no idea what route they're going to go, but like they have to bring in somebody else. I like Woody Marks, but he's not a 3-down back. The buzz, or I should say the lack of buzz around Nick Chubb is very concerning that he doesn't look good. Yeah. Dameon Pierce, just kind of a flash in the pan a few years ago. And then Joe Mixon, I don't know if he's going to play this year. Like I'm terrified about that foot injury. So I'm kind of shocked that they haven't made a move for a running back yet. Woody Marks is the guy that I would be targeting late in drafts just because, we know what Dameon Pierce is. We know Nick Chubb is struggling with the injury. We don't know what Woody Marks is, and I guess that makes him the most appealing. But they've got to add somebody to this backfield. I can't imagine them going out in week 1 with the husk of Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, and Dameon Pierce as their backfield.
I'm gonna sound like so dumb fantasy bro here when I say this, but why can't the NFL just be more like Madden sometimes, where it's like, hey, you know what? We're the Houston Texans. We're going to trade a 5th-round pick for Sean Tucker, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can we get him?
I mean,
can we do that?
The Texans do that all the time. That's how they got Joe Mixon. They traded a 7th-round pick for him. That's how they just got Christian Kirk this offseason. They are so willing to burn those.
it feels like they're playing stupid chicken at this point. Like they're just sitting here going, you know what, our backfield's just gonna suck. They're probably just waiting for someone to get cut, and then they can. Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's Elijah Mitchell or Devin Singletary, a lot of these guys, names that we know, are going to get cut within the next 2-3 weeks. And I think
Khalil Herbert, Dave.
Khalil Herbert, absolutely.
Khalil
DJ
Herbert.
Giddens drawing a lot of buzz. Khalil Herbert in Houston. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Yes. All right, Indianapolis Colts on here. Anthony Richardson still day to day with an injured pinky finger on his throwing hand. Injured is putting it lightly. Like, did you see that thing was on a 90-degree angle? It was gross. And then all of a sudden, next day, we're good. We're going to be back in practice. They popped it back into place.
No big deal. Yeah.
I think this is like, it's weird because I think it's kind of how we talk about rankings, where your true rankings when you get into the draft. And it almost feels like we know how we really feel about Anthony Richardson after he got injured, because then a bunch of us were like, oh man, the Colts might be better now with Daniel Jones at quarterback. Is that sort of how you feel after that injury?
Yeah. I mean, they started moving it down the field. Like as soon as Anthony Richardson came out, Daniel Jones stepped in, they started moving the ball and like getting the ball to their playmakers. And it's like, wow, there's a lot of good players on this Colts team. We kind of forgot about that. But then there's also the aspect of sunk cost. And there's this fallacy that, when we drafted Anthony Richardson 4th overall, he's still young. We want to give him time to develop, but they've given him a lot of opportunities now, and he's just not getting it together. And I mean, even the play that he got injured on, it has been so heavily scrutinized under a million different microscopes by every single player or person in the football sphere at this point. But regardless of what happened there, whether it was, a missed block or a missed read or a bad call from the bench, at the end of the day, Anthony Richardson did not feel a 260-pound defensive end coming full speed at him. And that is a huge problem, that you can just be playing football
on
and
his
just
play side,
that
on his throwing side, like it was in front of him,
and he just had his head turned to the left and just missed it. So sure, we can, maybe he should have hit the hot read, whatever. I'm not going to get into that whole discussion, but at the end of the day, that is concerning. That is a huge lack of awareness, that you can just stand there. How do you not even hear the footsteps of a 260-pound man running at you? I mean, there's still a long way for Anthony Richardson to come.
Yeah. I mean, I don't full disclosure. I don't want to sit here and tell professional athletes how could you not do something, because pretty sure I would suck at it too. Right. But also that's the reason they're professional athletes.
4th overall, and neither did you.
That's the thing, right? They're in practice every day. The big thing with Anthony Richardson is that he just hasn't had the reps, and it just shows in moments like that.
Right.
Listen, I think outside of 2 quarterback leagues, there's not really a reason to draft him unless you're in a very deep league where you're just taking shots at quarterbacks late and you didn't end up with someone that you trust each week. But even then, I think you're playing the same game of quarterback roulette with Anthony Richardson, and Daniel Jones probably gives this Colts team a better shot for fantasy success, which is very different from what we're saying for actual NFL success.
I will say I've been sprinkling in some Anthony Richardson in the final rounds, because the thing is when he's not playing, then you just keep him on your bench. But when he is playing, you're looking at, a top 10 quarterback. So I think that there is still some reason to draft him late and keep him stashed on your bench. If he gets a start during your QB1's bye week or something like that, I think there's use there. There's nobody else going in round 18 that has the same upside at the quarterback position that Anthony Richardson does. So I think it's worth it. But again, that's deep leagues. I'm talking, 18 to 20 rounds, things like that. In your standard redraft league where you got 5 to 6 bench spots, no, don't draft Anthony Richardson.
Next up on here, Jacksonville Jaguars. Top rookie pick, Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback, but not really. Debuted in preseason, and we already saw he was on the first team wide receivers on the depth chart and third team defensive back on the depth chart. He played, Dave, pretty much primarily all wide receiver in this preseason debut. He went out and took a couple of snaps.
He didn't take a single defensive snap.
Well, no, he did. He was out there on defense a little bit, not with the first team, but later on. That's what I mean. There is he went out there for a couple of plays at corner, but really his role on this team is going to be as a wide receiver primarily. And what I love most is finding out that it's going to be mostly in the slot when they go into 3 wide receiver sets, because Liam Cohen is a guy that likes to run a lot of just single tight end formation here. And I'm excited for a lot of the drawn up plays for Travis Hunter, the screens, getting him into space. This is a player that I think we can all be a little bit more excited about here, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more excited I can get about him. I've got him as my wide receiver 20 right now. Like, I'm very, very bullish on Travis Hunter. I did a Jacksonville radio show a few days ago where Ryan Green, great guy that does a lot of radio stuff down there in Jacksonville. He's like, I've been at camp. He goes, and I don't want this to sound crazy, but Travis Hunter looks like a better receiver than Brian Thomas Jr. And you just look at how these guys are going to be used. Brian Thomas Jr. is great at doing the deep downfield stuff. He's got the straight line speed, very similar to Mike Evans. And then you've got Travis Hunter, who is the super twitched up athlete that can play out of the slot, very similar to Chris Godwin. And we know who the more valuable player was in that offense. So if we're just trying to expect where the ball is going to go, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be out there stretching the field vertically and getting these big chunk plays every now and then. But if we want to know where the volume is going to go, I don't think it's crazy at all to project more targets going to Travis Hunter than to Brian Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, they might not be as valuable, but we also know that like with these targets, Travis Hunter is going to have a lot of space to move after the catch. And don't get too alarmed, guys, if you're seeing like De'Ami Brown as the listed outside wide receiver, as the Z. Like that should not be something that bothers you, because what you're going to see a lot of here is going to be a lot of 11 personnel from Lee and Cohen. I don't literally mean, yes, 11 players, but 11 personnel, one tight end, one running back. And what you're going to see is a lot of Travis Hunter in the slot, getting those easy layup targets that Trevor Lawrence used to throw all the time to Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk. Now you've got Travis Hunter, who I think is easily a much better player than them, getting the ball with those easy targets. So it's going to be pretty fun. Dave, you have Travis Hunter relatively high, if I remember right. I've got him at wide receiver 28. Where do you have him ranked?
Wide receiver 20. Yeah, so very aggressive. And something else that I want to mention with Travis Hunter too, and we talked about this a ton in the spring when we were kind of doing our rookie scouting and going through all that sort of stuff. He plays so much bigger than his size because of his ball skills. So 6 foot, 188. I think people are going to think that he is just like this small guy, and he certainly is, but he can jump out of the gym, and like he is so good with his ball skills on contested catch opportunities that even when they get inside the 5-yard line, inside the 10-yard line, don't be surprised when they're just like drawn up fades and letting Travis Hunter be that guy in the red zone. I think the ceiling for him is just so high. I mean, they brought in James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, two very sharp offensive minds, and then they make this huge blockbuster trade to move up and get Travis Hunter. I think it's just crazy to think that he's not going to be the focal point of this offense.
All right, faster through here. Kansas City Chiefs, tight end Travis Kelce allegedly looks slimmed down.
I saw those GQ pictures.
Yeah, he was in the cover of some magazine.
GQ,
was it GQ?
Yeah. Look at him.
He's got like a big mink coat wrapped around him.
Yeah.
Just boudoir photos there for Taylor Swift for him to send to her. Yeah. So basically looks slimmed down, looks more focused. All of the propaganda that you hear throughout the off season, right? All the hyperbole that this guy's in the best shape of his life for what seems like it's probably his final season in the NFL. And I know like the big thing for us was that Travis Kelce didn't look the same last year. And also when Rashee Rice is in the field, Travis Kelce is just not a very useful tight end. But with Rashee Rice being a guy that's likely could be missing anywhere from 6 to 8 games, Travis Kelce becomes a bit more relevant here for fantasy football, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, he was relevant last year too. He was a tight end 6. Like people act like Travis Kelce just completely fell off
from
the
where
age
you
cliff.
drafted him.
Of course,
but from where you drafted him, like some people were drafting him first round, second round, clear tight end 1 to be a guy that gives you like round 8 or 9 value. That's a bust.
Of course, yes. Relative to his draft cost last year, relative to his expectations, he was not good last year, but he was still, around and
winning at life.
Right. And I've got this year, he's my tight end 5. Like I still think I'm not crazy about that whole tier. Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson. It does kind of feel like the tight end dead zone, but I think a lot of people have that thought. And there's a lot of times in drafts where Travis Kelce will fall a little bit below ADP. And I don't want to not have Travis Kelce on any of my teams because I think that the upside is he could rewind the clock, especially like you said, with the Rashee Rice suspension. If he's lost some weight. I mean, there was a clip, again, like I don't want to overreact to preseason stuff, but there was a clip where Travis Kelce, like it almost looked like they were playing the video at like 1.25 speed, where I was just like, that looks like Travis Kelce from a few years ago. Like he was just ripping down the field. So I do wonder how much it might have been.
The social media crews are pretty good nowadays.
They're sneaky. Yeah. Is that AI or is that Travis Kelce running fast? But you also wonder, like, billionaire girlfriend, jet setting around the world. Like maybe he did let himself get a little punch and, ate some food and late nights out
We
and
all
things
do,
of that
baby.
nature.
We all do.
Right. And maybe this year you're saying, hey, this is my farewell tour. I want to go out there and put the best thing that I can on the field. And maybe there is something there. So Travis Kelce, I don't want to like run a fade on Travis Kelce because I think he's still a good player and can still be productive in fantasy.
Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to ask you one question here, Dave. Are you worried about Ashton Jeanty at all after that preseason debut?
Nope. Let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Los Angeles Chargers. Wide receiver Keenan Allen has been signed by the Chargers and looks like he's picking up right where he left off. Really does seem like he's going to get a lot of the slot work in here. I'm pretty sure that he and McConkey are both going to be moving around. It's interesting because Keenan Allen might get more of the easy targets, but McConkey might get more of the valuable targets and be the guy that gets moved around the formation a bit more. It does seem like the top three receivers are going to be Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, and Quentin Johnston, not in any particular order there. Rookie wide receiver Trey Harris is struggling with drops and has yet to put together strong days and really crack that starting lineup. So the Keenan Allen signing, what does this do for you for these Chargers wide receivers?
I think this is one of the best case scenarios for Keenan Allen. And he's a guy that, was very suppressed in best ball drafts, getting him around 16 to 18. I have Keenan Allen in over 50% of my rosters because I just kept saying, like, he's not going to retire. And he's also not going to go sign with the Browns. Like, he's going to sign with a good offense. He is ring chasing at this point in his career. And I think he's still got some juice in the tank. I mean, last year, he was 11th in the league in target share. Like, this is on a team with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, and he was still pulling 27.2% of the targets. Just 2 years ago in this Chargers offense, 1,243 yards, best season of his career, or second best season of his career. So I think he's one of these guys, we see it all the time with older wide receivers that just fall off the age cliff. But these types of guys age a little bit more gracefully. He's not a guy who has ever relied on his athleticism. His game changed drastically after he tore his ACL early in his career, and he became a technician. He's one of those guys that is just immediately open, first step off the line of scrimmage. He can be that underneath safety blanket for Justin Herbert like he's been for years. So wide receiver is deep this year. Like, there are a lot of receivers, and it's hard to move him up too high. I've got him at wide receiver 39. And just because it's hard to move him ahead of Rome Odunze and Chris Olave and Ricky Pearsall and Devonta Smith, it sounds like I'm very low on him saying wide receiver 39, but that's just more of a testament to how deep the position is this year. Keenan Allen is a guy that wouldn't shock me one bit if he rewinds the clock and gives us like a top 12 or a top 15 season in this offense.
I mean, to give some sort of like actionable ADP on that, for example, I drafted him in round 15 of the Flex League fantasy draft before he had signed with the Chargers. This was like the few days before. And if you're talking about those players that you mentioned, Dave, those guys all are being drafted anywhere from round 6 to round 9. So that's kind of the area where you want to be looking at a Keenan Allen. I think you just want like a safe guy with some decent upside. Go for it. Like, we know what Keenan Allen can do. He was essentially a wide receiver 3 last year on a very underperforming offense.
He was a wide receiver 1 2 years ago. He was literally the wide receiver 8 in scoring 2 years ago in this offense. The last thing I'll say too is ADP becomes pretty stabilized at a certain point. Like, we'll see little guys move here and there, up and down a little bit, but it's not going to react to big news like this the way that it should. Devontae Adams is going in round 4. Mike Evans is going in round 4. Stephon Diggs is going in round 7. There's no reason Keenan Allen shouldn't be sandwiched somewhere in that like round 4 to 7 range. But the reality is, it seems like people are reaching a little bit ahead right now to get Keenan Allen on their team. But he still is falling in round 11, round 12, round 13. I think he's one of the best values out there in drafts right now.
Okay, I'm not quite there. I have Keenan Allen more in the Emeka Egbuka, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs area, where I think he's going to be giving you some good volume, maybe a few high upside weeks, and you're starting him in 3 wide receiver leagues with a couple flexes, things like that. Like, I'm not taking a huge risk on him either, going too early. Let's move on to our next team here. Staying in Los Angeles, the Rams. Matthew Stafford allegedly passed a physical walkthrough and will resume practicing, but he was also in
2 days ago.
Yeah, he was also in some weird Airbus thing where they were like doing some sort of crazy futuristic rituals on him with lasers and all kinds of stuff to fix his back. And listen, like, just from the reports alone, sure, he might go out there week 1. He might be able to play. But the injury that Matthew Stafford has to his lower back, especially with an inflamed and agitated, re-aggravated disc, it takes, and I know we could say this about any NFL player, it takes one bad hit for him to just be like, I can't play anymore. So it's less about drafting Matthew Stafford, because I don't feel like anyone's doing that, but it's more about what this does to the players around him, like Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams. If Jimmy Garoppolo is then the starter, who is also another guy with an injury history as well. So, Dave, what does this do for you for those players?
I'm staying pretty firm on Puka Nacua. I moved him down one spot because of this Matthew Stafford stuff, and that's because he and Nico Collins were already so tight in my rankings, so he's my wide receiver 6. Jimmy Garoppolo looked bad in Las Vegas, but we got to remember, like, he looked pretty good before then, and that's why he got that huge monstrous deal. So I think, what we saw in San Francisco, pretty similar offense where they want to get the ball to the receivers in the short areas of the field and let them create after the catch, and that's something he does decently well. Davante Adams is a guy that, wheels up if Matthew Stafford is there. I would be so in on Davante Adams. I think he would be the one that would take the biggest knock if we're looking at a long-term Jimmy Garoppolo stint here. But Puka Nacua, I think, regardless of whether it's Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo under center, I still think he deserves to go late in the first round. And he's been falling outside of that. I did a draft with Sigmund Bloom last night on the NFFC, and we got him in the middle of round 2.
I'm not too worried about Davante Adams here with the Rams, even if it is Jimmy Garoppolo. We've seen what Davante Adams can do, even in a worst case scenario. He's still going to be a guy that's going to get targets, be a touchdown threat, and man, if there's anyone that can even make chicken salad out of chicken, it's Sean McVay, especially at the quarterback spot. So I'm not overly worried. I'm not going to be moving it, because also it's looking at the guys that are around Davante Adams for me in the rankings. It's Mike Evans, it's Tyreek Hill. It's guys that have their own concerns about, being older or, whatever the quarterback situation could be in Miami. So I've got him in that same area. I'm not going to make too many changes based on the Matthew Stafford stuff. Dave, Miami Dolphins. This seems small, but it could actually be something that's relevant. They lose running back Alexander Mattison with a season-ending neck injury. But honestly, to me, what this does, I think, is just gives a little more clarity to that backfield that has a bunch of young guys on it, and one of whom I'm getting a little more excited about. I didn't really love the college film, but Ollie Gordon is the biggest running back on this team. He is the guy that can handle all the short yardage stuff. Jaylen Wright has really struggled with short yardage stuff and really just being consistent out of the backfield. With Alexander Mattison no longer there, Ollie Gordon sort of jumps into this Jeff Wilson.
I'd say more Raheem Mostert
role.
Yeah, he looks a lot like Raheem Mostert, similar size and build and all that.
I mean, he's bigger, way bigger. He's like 230 pounds. Ollie Gordon is a truck. He is definitively going to be the thunder to Devon Achane's lightning here. I'm willing to make him one of my last picks in a fantasy draft, or he's going to be one of those guys that we'll probably talk about as a last minute waiver wire pickup before week 1.
Yeah, you talk about the college film, and it's really weird because 2 years ago at Oklahoma State, he looked like the best running back in college football. People were talking about him as a potential first round pick, and then just really nosedived in 2024. And Jeff Bell kind of has this theory that it's because Oklahoma State didn't make many investments in the offense, that they tried to run it back, but he wanted to be a part of that, but they didn't really seem committed to putting a good product out on the field. So he just kind of phoned it in, which definitely concerning. And I understand why that would cause a player to fall in the draft, but you talk about it, the measurables, the speed, the athleticism, all those things are great. He's a big lumbering back and could help. We've heard a lot. The Dolphins got this reputation for being soft, and I think taking a hard-hitting bruiser like Ollie Gordon, leaning on him a little bit, could help them kind of change the tone of the offense.
Yeah, man. It's one of these guys I think as you get towards the end of the draft, just take chances on running backs that are an injury away from a big role. And if you've got an offense that can be even somewhat decent, get around the goal line, you're not getting a quarterback sneak with Tua Tagovailoa. There's not a whole heck of a lot else going on there. So Ollie Gordon becomes these guys with some real touchdown upside. All right, Minnesota Vikings here. JJ McCarthy allegedly still has some work to do in the Kevin O'Connell offense. We knew that. I don't think there's really a story there.
Yeah, and I mean it's been weird. I talked about this yesterday with Matt Waldman, that the Minnesota beat and the Minnesota coaches and staff and all that have been nothing but praise about JJ McCarthy. He's doing great, he's picking it up, he's getting up to speed, we're going to get there, yada yada yada. And then you get these national reporters that show up to Minnesota camp and they're like, JJ McCarthy looks terrible. So you wonder how much like hand holding is going on right now from the people in Minnesota trying to like put him in a good offense or like a good environment. You know, apparently he struggled last year mentally with the injury, which I'm sure you could imagine. Lost a bunch of weight. You know, they said it was like really kind of wearing on him. So now they want to do everything they can to keep his spirits up. But this is a complex system that Kevin O'Connell runs. McCarthy looked okay in the preseason game, but he really was just forcing a lot of balls Jordan Addison's way. I think it's entirely too early to panic. You know, he's a young guy with rushing upside and has great weapons around him. And I think that makes him on the fantasy radar, but he's not a guy that I want to draft as my only quarterback. If I'm drafting JJ McCarthy, I am assuredly pairing him up with anybody else, like Caleb Williams or Brock Purdy, something like that. I don't want all my eggs in the McCarthy basket, but I think he's a fine target in 2 quarterback builds.
All right, we got to go even faster here. New England Patriots, TreVeyon Henderson looks awesome. Returned his first touch in the preseason for a 100-yard kick return. He had a nice outside run. But you know what? Ramondre Stevenson kept a pretty big role. Once again, we don't want to focus too much on the roles that we see in preseason because it is preseason. But there's just an explosive factor here with TreVeyon Henderson where Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels has compared him to, and I think a lot of people are maybe taking this out of context and running with it in a bad way, compared him to Shane Vereen and Danny Woodhead. And he said those guys were fast, but TreVeyon's fast. And I think like that's a good distinction that you have there, is that those were guys that he tried to get in space, guys that he would get targets to, but that TreVeyon Henderson is a cut above those guys. He's not saying that Henderson is those players. He's
so good, man. And like, we knew that this guy 2 years ago, similar to Ollie Gordon, was like talked about as like the best running back in the class. Chose to go back to Ohio State, split touches with Quinshon Judkins, and ended up falling down draft boards a little bit, but still went at the top of round 2, which is very notable draft capital for a running back. The Bears also tried trading to get TreVeyon Henderson, and the Patriots wouldn't allow it to happen. Just such a good player, and really excited to see that his skill set immediately translated to the NFL. So big time mover for me. And when I was doing this draft yesterday, I was looking at him at the top of round 3 because I knew he wasn't going to make it back to us at the end of round 4. And sure enough, he went at that 3-4 turn. And I think that's kind of where he is going to settle in now because the upside is just so apparent.
New Orleans Saints exist. So that's happening. Tyler Shuck actually looked kind of decent. Had himself a nice big play touchdown.
Bomb.
Spencer. Yeah. Big bomb Shuck. I mean, we'll see. Like, I don't know, like Chris Olave is still very much a wide receiver 3 for me with a little bit of upside, but we've had the injury concerns. Now we got the quarterback concerns. Like, I think he's one of those guys that I might like him for real life football and just as a player, but I don't know that I'm going to be drafting a whole lot of him here in fantasy as much as I do like him. So I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time here.
Yeah, I'm kind of in on Olave. Like we talked about the Browns earlier, like they're going to be like sad bad. I think the Saints could actually be like fun.
They can be funny bad. No, right. Funny bad.
Funny
like,
bad.
Funny bad.
Yeah, like Shug and Rattler, for all of their warts, they're gunslingers. Like they are going to rip that ball downfield. So like they might be bad. They might be a 2-15 team, but their offense is also bad, and their defense is bad, and they're going to end up letting up a lot of points. The Saints are going to be playing from behind often, and they've got these gunslinging quarterbacks. I'm kind of in on Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
I'm not quite there, but I don't know. Maybe we see something better from Tyler Shuck as the preseason goes on here. Let's say he was a guy that I liked going into the draft. It's just I don't really trust this offense a whole lot. New York Giants running back Tyrone Tracy remains the clear lead back. Dave, is something that we've already been talking about. Like I don't think there's too much to add here. It's just that the drumbeat remains the same. He is the lead running back. Cam Scatterbo is a backup for all intents and purposes, and will likely not be out there in passing down. So Tyrone Tracy remains a very undervalued running back.
Yeah, even before Cam Scatterbo got injured, the word out of New York was that Devin Singletary was ahead of him in the pecking order, on the depth chart, and reps, all those sorts of things. So Scatterbo, we've said it a bunch. He's fun. You know, I understand why people like him, but Tyrone Tracy just checks every single box ahead of Cam Scatterbo outside of weight. I mean, he's a faster guy. Like Brian Dable has been gushing about him. I think that was one of the biggest edges in early drafts, was taking Tyrone Tracy where he was going. Now we're starting to see that gap in ADP get a little bit wider and a little bit wider, but Tracy, upside for him is just so high. He's such a good player.
New York Jets head coach Aaron Glenn appears to be following through on his promise of giving us a 3-man backfield committee. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen are sharing early down work. Isaiah Davis coming in and handling third down duties. the overwhelming sentiment is still that Breece Hall should be getting work as a pass catcher. He should be the leader of this committee, but man, a 3 running back committee on an offense that might be bad worries me a lot. And Breece Hall is one of these guys that he needs volume to sort of pick up steam, or else he does get inefficient. Like that, he gets better with volume. And that's something that I have noticed throughout his career. I'm not dropping him a ton, but I had Breece Hall, Dave, at running back. I had him at running back 15. I've got him at running back 17 right now, behind Cook, Amari Hampton, Ken Walker. Okay.
Yeah, I got him at RB20.
My, how the turntables.
Yeah, I've got him at RB20. And, you know, I hope he gets traded. I'd love to see him in Kansas City or Houston or, you know, one of these other teams. But Braylon Allen, people were very excited for Braylon Allen last year. You know, this guy has been a Devy darling for years and everybody was super excited. But you got to forget how young he was. Like, he was 20 last year. Like, the season ended and he was still 20 years old. And if you just look at pictures of him from last year camp and this year camp, that dude bulked up. Like, he turned into a man this offseason, and he is running like it as well. So I think the saving grace here is that Aaron Glenn might be one of those guys that's like down 3 scores in the third quarter and still trying to establish the run. So the volume might be there for all of these guys. But yeah, Breece Hall, given where he's going in drafts, I have been passing on him, but like aggressively targeting Braylon Allen late.
It's weird, man, because if you're Aaron Glenn, you've seen how the multi-running back system works, and I don't think you want to commit to this one guy. But yeah, running back 17 for me. Next up on here, Philadelphia Eagles. We've already talked about this, that Will Shipley is the RB2 there. Just someone to consider late in drafts. Like that's kind of all there is actionable there. Pittsburgh Steelers. Running back Jaylen Warren should open the year as the starter. And it's going to be interesting to see how the breakdown of touches sort of goes around here, because Warren has still been productive even when he's not getting a bunch of touches. But Caleb Johnston is a guy similar to Breece Hall that needs volume to get it going. And he was not super impressive in his preseason action here. It just sort of seems like a weird fit in the offense. Like, Caleb Johnston needs to be able to hit the outside zone runs, and that's not something that was happening with Arthur Smith's inside zone scheme that was going on here. It just, he wasn't really picking up speed early. That's something that was talked about in his 40-yard dash, that it was a slow start, but he picks up speed later. And then it's just been really bad on passing downs too. The pass blocking's not there. There's a passing play where the ball just hits him directly in the hands, and then Caleb Johnston kept running, but he didn't have the ball. Like, almost like he didn't even realize he didn't catch it. There's just some weirdness there.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Caleb Johnston throughout the prospecting cycle. But yeah, this, I was already a little bit lower on him, so I can't move him too much further down. But I think the biggest takeaway here is, I talked about Jaylen Warren as like, I will not draft this guy at all. What was that, about 2-3 weeks ago? And then training camp opened up, and Jaylen Warren is getting a lot of reps with the ones. And they've talked about the importance of being a good pass blocker with this old, frail Aaron Rodgers taking snaps from under center, and Caleb Johnston isn't the best pass blocker. So it sounds like Jaylen Warren is going to be much more involved than we had expected early. So move Jaylen Warren way up in my rankings. And then also starting to look at Kenneth Gainwell, who wasn't a guy that was even remotely on my radar a few months ago, is now a guy that's cracked into my top 70, which means that he warrants some consideration in the late rounds of your draft.
San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, he and the team are preparing for a return in week 6, which we kind of knew was on the table. For me, this just sort of means wheels up for Ricky Pearsall. Like, we're going to get a lot of Ricky Pearsall early on in the season, with the Juwan Jennings injuries, the Brandon Aiyuk delay. I'm more in on Pearsall now than I've really ever been, and I've already been very high on Pearsall.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really move Pearsall up much higher than I already have him. But Brandon Aiyuk, man, this is scary, because when the coach is saying like they hope that he can be back by week 6, that potentially means that he's back week 7 or week 8, and then has a few weeks where he's ramping up. I just, at this point, I can't possibly justify drafting Brandon Aiyuk where his ADP is. Like, people are still drafting him as kind of this wide receiver 4, and I have moved him so far down my rankings. I've got him outside of my top 60.
Seattle Seahawks have a plan for running back Kenneth Walker III. He's back to being a full participant in practice after foot soreness. And then he took a day off from practice. And when the team was asked about it, they're like, we got a plan for him. Don't worry. their ultimate goal there is to keep him healthy for all 17 games. And I think that's the goal for every team, for every player. But they seem to be a lot more intentional about it with Ken Walker. That does, to me, almost feel like you're putting the prized possession inside of a glass case here to keep it safe and protected. I feel like that's good and bad because I love Ken Walker, but I'm worried that the team feels like they need to treat him that delicately. It's good because it feels like he's a big part of their plans going forward.
Yeah, and Clint Kubiak has been gushing about him since the day he showed up in Seattle. We know he's going to be a big part of their plans when healthy, but at the end of the day, Kenneth Walker has never missed less than 2 games in a season. Like, he is just a guy who is constantly battling through injuries. So we want to put an actionable spin on this. Move Zach Charbonnet up your rankings, because we saw last year, like when these guys are splitting touches, it obviously favors Kenneth Walker. But when Kenneth Walker has to miss any games, Zach Charbonnet is giving you 20, 25 points per game. So we already knew he was a very high-end handcuff. But now with Kenneth Walker already dealing with some preseason ailments, Zach Charbonnet inside my top 36 and a guy that I'm trying to get in as many drafts as possible.
Yeah, he's my running back 34, Zach Charbonnet. Ken Walker, where do you have him, Dave? Just out of curiosity.
I moved him down 1 spot, still holding it down though. RB 15.
I got a running back. Okay, I'm running back 16.
Yeah, so I'm still aggressive on Kenneth Walker because I think when healthy in this Kubiak offense, it is just a perfect schematic player fit. Like, I think we've been waiting. Like, it feels like Kenneth Walker has just been on like the precipice of an 1,800-yard season, and it hasn't happened. But maybe this is the year. Maybe.
Precipice is just fun to say. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Rachaad White suffers a groin injury. The team has said it's not that serious,
day to day.
But yeah, man, soft tissue injuries, especially anything lower extremity for running backs, just always bothers me. It worries me. And they have very capable running backs in that backfield, from Bucky Irving to Sean Tucker to all these guys. Like, it's just, Rachaad White has this injury. Does he move down for you at all in draft rankings? Or are you just going to, like, let's just say steady as she goes? I
think it's far enough away from week 1. And like, if they were saying week to week, I'd be scared. But a day-to-day injury this far out, I assume he'll be back to 100% by the time week 1 comes up. But this injury did kind of make me revisit my Sean Tucker rating, where I had him outside of my top 80. I moved him up quite a bit. I've got him at RB 63, which I feel like I've said this about so many players, but I think this is kind of the takeaway during preseason is we realize the guys that are an injury away from a big workload. So I said it about Ollie Gordon. I said it about, a lot of guys so far on this show, but Sean Tucker now moves into the guy that was, off my radar to now I'll spend an 18th, 19th, 20th round pick on Sean Tucker just to see how it shakes out.
Sean Tucker, my RB 67.
All right.
What are we doing? We're talking about guys that won't get drafted, but we're like, yeah, he's my RB 943. Like,
but
that's not helpful.
A lot of drafts now, especially like when people are doing best ball, those are going 20 rounds deep. So like you really need to start reaching for guys that probably aren't on the radar in your home leagues, but guys that you're still looking at in these deeper leagues.
Raise your hand at home if you're playing best ball right now. That's right, Dave. Only you raised your hand. None of our listeners. All right. Tennessee Titans. I'm just kidding. That's not a slight at the best ball community. Love everyone. Tennessee Titans running back Tyjae Spears going to miss the rest of preseason with a high ankle sprain. Week 1 status is in question. Dave, when it comes to running backs and high ankle sprains, I hate to hear this. This
puke
is
in my mouth a little
one of those
bit.
Things. Okay, that's gross.
Yeah.
Didn't need to hear that. But like, this is something that Jonathan Taylor has dealt with in the past, and it's kept him out of games. And Tyjae Spears is a guy who's like dealt with injury year after year after year as well. I mean, man, he's one of these guys, like his value comes from being so explosive. And when you're coming back with this high ankle sprain that doesn't give you the same flexion that you normally have, a guy that's able to cut so well, even if he's back week 1, we're probably not getting the true Tyjae Spears potentially this season. Like, we saw how much it zapped Austin Eckler in previous years and Jonathan Taylor and other guys. Granted, they're a little bit older, but Tyjae Spears, I mean, I'm a lot more worried about him going into the season right now.
Yeah, Tyjae Spears was a guy that I was pretty bullish on. I only had a handful of running backs in between Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. I was expecting more of a 1A, 1B type of approach, but a high ankle sprain, if they're already worrying about his week 1 status, that means it's probably going to bleed into the regular season, high risk of re-injury. So I've widened that gap a little bit, moved Tony Pollard up, moved Tyjae Spears down. This is a big enough injury that I don't think you can ignore it.
Tony Pollard, where's he at for you?
Tony Pollard is wide receiver
We'll say it at the
26.
same time.
Tyjae Spears is wide receiver
he's a running back.
36.
Well,
Yes,
they're both running
backs,
backs,
correct.
so your rankings suck.
26 and 36.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm a little higher on Pollard. I think I got him. Where do I have him? Running back 24. So it's just a few spots up. All right, final team on here, Washington Commanders. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel has apparently been the most reliable option in Terry McLaurin's absence. But then the same thing has also been said about Zach Ertz as being the primary target. And the big caveat there is in Terry McLaurin's absence. It's kind of like how Javonte Williams is the top running back in Dallas while the other guys are injured. You know, okay.
What is Washington
man.
doing? Why are you playing hardball with Terry McLaurin? Like, you've got a superstar quarterback on a rookie deal. You've got all this cap space. Terry McLaurin has been a consummate professional since the day he showed up to your organization. Coming off, just freaking pay the guy. What are you guys doing there? This one makes me mad. Like, it is so silly to keep Terry McLaurin off the practice field during training camp. But you know, Washington is going to Washington.
Mander's gonna mander. Dude, I'm not getting worried about the Commanders, but I also kind of am, if I'm being honest here. Like, this could be one of those things where we do see the sort of sophomore slump in a quarterback, and it may not have anything to do with Jayden Daniels' actual talent. Like, he may not be worse, but if they refuse to bring in Terry McLaurin and then he's, you know, working with the husk of Deebo Samuel and Zach Ertz and just not having the targets he needs around him, like, this is going to be one of those very stressful situations for Jayden Daniels going into his second year.
It's completely asinine to take away the number one weapon from your developing quarterback. I don't get what they're doing.
Utterly ridiculous. Well, Dave, we did it. 32 teams, and we did more than 32 players. It's just, 32 players sounds better for the title. So you're welcome, America. We gave you more. Under promise, over deliver. That's what we do. But we're going to be back again tomorrow. We're going to be giving you our favorite running backs that you need to be drafting in fantasy football. And then we're going to be back again on Thursday talking about our favorite wide receivers that you need to be drafting in fantasy football. We are getting that much closer to the big fantasy draft weekend. Coming up, man, I'm reading the schedule here, Dave. We're going to be back again doing the news updates again the following week. We're going to be going over all of the various fantasy platforms, ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, how to beat the ADPs on those. And yes, someone at the expo this year reminded me that last year we used the wrong ADP for Yahoo, and we used Underdog, and that was a wash of an episode. We will double check it this year. I promise we'll be good, but we got a bunch of great content coming up for you guys. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you are a subscriber of Football Guys as well, where we've got the Football Guys Bowl. That link is going to be down in the description below. As always, I want to thank everybody for joining us here today, watching or listening all the way through. For myself, for Dave, we'll see you next time. Adios.